People later called him many names. Some said he was a genius. Some said he was cruel. Some said he was strange. But before all of that, Miyamoto Musashi was just a boy who did not belong. He was born in a time when Japan was full of war. Swords were not symbols. They were answers. From a very young age, Musashi saw violence, fear, and pride around him. Other boys wanted safety. They wanted a place in society. Musashi wanted something else. He wanted truth. As a child, Musashi was not liked. He was rough. He spoke less. He watched more. When others laughed together, he stayed silent. When teachers explained rules, he questioned them in his heart. People thought he was rude. In reality, he was restless. He felt something burning inside him, a question that never left his mind. How strong can I become if I give everything to one path? At the age when most boys were still learning manners, Musashi fought his first real duel. He was very young. Too young, many said. His opponent was older and trained. Everyone believed the boy would lose. But Musashi did not think like them. He did not think about winning or losing. He only thought about testing himself. The fight was fast. It was ugly. It was real. And Musashi won. That moment changed his life forever. People expected celebration, praise, comfort, a future inside the village. But Musashi felt something different. Victory did not make him happy. It made him hungry. He realized one fight meant nothing. One win did not give answers. It only opened a door. Behind that door was a long, lonely road. Soon after, Musashi made a choice that shocked everyone. He left his home. He left his teachers. He left safety. Not because he was angry. Not because he hated people. He left because staying felt like lying to himself. Belonging meant rules. Belonging meant comfort. Belonging meant stopping. And Musashi did not want to stop. He began to walk from place to place. Villages, forest mountains, roads with no names. At night, he slept wherever he could. Sometimes under trees. Sometimes in broken houses. Hunger became normal. Cold became normal. Silence became his closest friend. Many people cannot handle silence. Musashi learned from it. When you walk alone for days, your thoughts become loud. Fear appears. Doubt appears. Weakness shows itself clearly. Musashi did not run from these things. He faced them. Every step became training. Every breath became discipline. He practiced with his sword when no one was watching. He trained his body until pain stopped being an enemy. He trained his mind until excuses disappeared. People he met on the road did not understand him. Some laughed at his clothes. Some challenged him. Some avoided him. He did not care. Approval was not his goal. Growth was. Inside, however, he was not empty. He felt loneliness. He felt tired. There were nights when he wondered if he had made the wrong choice. Nights when a warm meal and friendly voices sounded tempting. But every time that thought came, another thought answered it. If I turn back now, I will never know my limits. Musashi believed something very few people dare to believe. He believed that isolation was not punishment. It was a tool. When no one praises you, you learn to praise yourself less. When no one guides you, you learn to listen deeper. When no one supports you, your weakness becomes clear, and clarity is power. Other swordsmen trained in schools. They followed styles. They copied forms. Musashi watched them from a distance. He saw something important. Many were skilled, but they were trapped by tradition, trapped by approval, trapped by fear of failure in front of others. Musashi wanted freedom, so he chose isolation again and again. He refused comfort. He refused easy belonging. Each refusal made him sharper, harder, more focused. This did not make him kind. It did not make him gentle. It made him honest. He learned to wait before sunrise. He learned to move with purpose. He learned to control his emotions instead of being controlled by them. When anger came, he studied it. When fear came, he stood still and let it pass. Slowly, his name began to spread. A young man who traveled alone. A swordsman who fought without style. A man who arrived dirty, silent, and left undefeated. But fame did not pull him back to people. It pushed him further away. Musashi understood something most never do. Belonging gives comfort, but it also gives chains. It asks you to fit. It asks you to slow down. It asks you to become smaller so others feel safe. Musashi refused to become smaller. He did not hate people. He simply loved his path more. At this stage of his life, he was not yet the legend. He was still learning, still searching, still walking. But one thing was clear. The boy who left home would never fully return. Isolation was no longer a choice. It had become his way of life. And ahead of him waited challenges that would test not just his sword, but his mind. Duels that would decide his future. Rivals who would force him to evolve or die. The lonely road had only begun. Musashi continued to walk. Days passed, then weeks, then months. The road became his home. He carried very little with him. A sword, simple clothes, a mind that never rested. While others settled into jobs, families, and schools, Musashi chose movement. He believed the road would teach him what comfort never could. The road was not kind. Some days he ate well. Many days he did not. Hunger became a familiar feeling. At first, it distracted him. Later, he learned to control it. He told himself, if my body is weak, my mind must be stronger. Slowly, he stopped complaining. Complaints did not help survival. Nights were the hardest. Cold winds cut through his thin clothes. Darkness made small sound feel dangerous. Musashi slept lightly, always alert. Fear visited him often. But instead of running from fear, he studied it. He learned something important. Fear is loud only when the mind is weak. When the mind is calm, fear loses power. During the day, Musashi trained alone. He practiced his sword movements in empty fields. He swung again and again, not fast, but correct. Not to look good, but to feel true. No teacher watched him. No crowd clapped. Every mistake belonged only to him. This was painful, but honest. Sometimes he visited sword schools, famous places where students trained together. Masters taught fixed styles, long routines, clear rules. Musashi observed quietly. He noticed skill, but he also noticed pride. Many students fought to impress others. Many masters protected their reputation more than truth. Musashi did not stay long. He realized something deeper. When people train together, they begin to depend on each other. They fear judgment. They fear losing respect. This fear shapes their actions. Musashi did not want that shape. He wanted to remain raw and free. So he left again. Along the road, challenges found him. Some swordsmen heard rumors of a young fighter who traveled alone. They saw him as an easy target. A lone man, poor clothes, no school behind him. They were wrong. One afternoon, a man stopped Musashi on a narrow path. The man was confident, loud. He spoke of his style and his victories. He challenged Musashi, expecting fear. Musashi did not answer with words. The fight was short. The result was clear. Musashi did not celebrate. He did not insult the man. He simply bowed and continued walking. To him, the duel was not about ego. It was information. It showed him what worked and what did not. Each fight became a lesson. Musashi began to understand timing, distance, the mind of the opponent. He learned that winning was not about strength alone. It was about calmness. The calmer man usually controlled the fight. This understanding came from isolation. Without noise, without distraction, he could see clearly, but the road also tested his spirit. There were days when loneliness felt heavy, when silence stopped being a teacher and became a burden. He watched groups of travelers laughing together. He saw families sharing meals. For a moment, he wondered what life would be like if he joined them. Belonging called to him quietly. But every time he imagined staying, another image appeared. Himself growing comfortable. Himself slowing down. Himself accepting limits. That thought frightened him more than loneliness. Musashi believed that isolation was sharpening him like a blade on stone. The process was painful, slow, and lonely, but the result would be strong and clean. He began to change inside. His emotions became steady. He no longer rushed. He no longer reacted quickly to anger or insult. When challenged, he observed first. He listened. He waited. People around him noticed something strange. This man did not move like others. He did not speak much. His eyes were calm, but deep, as if he was always measuring something unseen. Musashi was measuring himself. He stopped thinking of life as comfort or suffering. He saw it as training. Every moment had value if used correctly. Rain was training. Hunger was training. Insult was training. Defeat, if it came, would also be training. This mindset separated him further from society. While others looked for belonging, Musashi looked for mastery. Soon, his name traveled faster than his feet. Stories grew. Some were true, some were not, but all carried the same idea. A swordsman with no style. A man who lived alone. A fighter who arrived unexpected and left silence behind. Fame began to chase him. This was dangerous. Fame could pull him back into the world he avoided. It could trap him in pride. Musashi sensed this risk, so he made another choice. He became even more distant. He refused rewards. He refused comfort. He refused praise. He believed praise weakened focus. As the road continued, Musashi felt himself reaching a new level. His movements were simpler. His thoughts were quieter. He no longer forced improvement. Improvement happened naturally. Isolation was no longer painful. It was familiar, but the road was preparing him for something greater. A test that would place him against a rival known across the land. A duel that would not only test his skill, but the truth of his path. Musashi did not know the details yet. He only felt it coming. The road always knows before the traveler does. By now, Miyamoto Musashi was no longer just a man on the road. He was a name. People spoke about him in tea houses and training halls. They whispered about a swordsman who followed no school, carried himself with calm, and fought without fear. Some admired him. Some hated him. Many wanted to test him. Musashi heard these stories too, but they did not excite him. Fame was noise, and noise distracted the mind. Still, fame is a way of finding those who try to escape it. One day, word reached Musashi about a powerful rival. A man trained in a respected school. A fighter with students, status, and honor. This man was everything Musashi had walked away from. Belonging, recognition, structure. The duel was arranged. When Musashi arrived at the place, the air felt different. People had gathered. Faces were tense. Whispers moved through the crowd like wind through grass. Everyone expected a show. Everyone expected speed, skill, and pride. Musashi arrived alone. His clothes were simple. His hair was untidy. Some laughed quietly when they saw him. This did not look like a great warrior. This looked like a poor traveler who had come too far. Musashi noticed the laughter. He did not react. His opponent stood with confidence. Clean clothes. Strong posture. Years of training visible in every movement. He bowed to the crowd, not to Musashi. The crowd admired him. Musashi stood still. Inside, his mind was quiet. This was the gift of isolation. While others were shaped by the eyes of the crowd, Musashi was shaped by silence. He did not need approval to feel ready. He did not need noise to feel alive. The duel began. Time seemed to slow. Musashi watched his opponent carefully. The way he breathed. The way he shifted his weight. The small tension in his shoulders. These details spoke louder than words. He waited. The opponent attacked with speed and confidence. The crowd gasped. To them, it looked perfect. To Musashi, it looked predictable. Years of lonely practice had trained his eyes. He saw the opening before it appeared. He moved without rush, without anger, without hesitation. The strike was simple. The duel ended. Silence fell over the crowd. Some could not believe what they had seen. Others felt uncomfortable. They expected drama. They expected struggle. Instead, they saw clarity. One clean moment decided everything. Musashi stepped back. He bowed, not to the crowd, not to fame. He bowed to the truth of the moment. The opponent lay defeated, not humiliated, but changed. In his eyes, something had broken. Not his body, but his certainty. Musashi turned to leave. People rushed toward him. Some wanted to praise him. Some wanted to question him. Some wanted to challenge him next. Musashi walked past them all. Victory did not fill him with joy. Instead, it brought a strange feeling. Emptiness. As he walked away, Musashi felt something shift inside him. This duel proved his method worked. Isolation had sharpened him beyond schools and styles. His path was true, but the win also showed him a problem. The more he won, the more people would come. The more famous he became, the harder isolation would be to protect. Fame was a new enemy. That night, Musashi sat alone under the sky. The stars were quiet. The world felt far away. He replayed the duel in his mind, not with pride, but with analysis. He asked himself a hard question. If I continue like this, what will I become? He saw two paths ahead. One path led to recognition, students, and comfort, a respected master surrounded by people, a life of belonging. The other path was darker, quieter, lonely, but free. Musashi already knew his answer. He chose the second path again. The duel taught him more than technique. It taught him that isolation was not just preparation. It was protection. Protection from ego. Protection from distraction. Protection from becoming trapped by the image others created of him. Musashi understood something important that night. True mastery is fragile. It can be destroyed by praise, pride, and comfort. To protect it, one must sometimes walk alone. From that moment, Musashi became even more distant. He avoided crowds. He refused to stay in one place for long. He trained at strange hours. He challenged himself in new ways. He even changed how he fought. He began experimenting, using different weapons, fighting with two swords, breaking rules on purpose. Isolation gave him the courage to explore without fear of judgment. People started calling him strange. Some said he lacked honor. Some said he was dangerous. Musashi accepted these labels without reaction. Labels did not matter. Only growth mattered. The duel became famous. Stories spread across the land. Some exaggerated it. Some misunderstood it. Musashi did not correct them. Truth did not need defense. He continued walking. But deep inside, a quiet understanding formed. Isolation had given him strength, but it also separated him from the world forever. Each step forward made it harder to return. Musashi accepted this cost. Because for him, the greatest fear was not loneliness. The greatest fear was never knowing his true potential. Musashi's name now traveled faster than he did. Across villages and towns, people whispered about the young swordsman who had defeated stronger, older, more famous fighters. Some called him a genius. Some called him reckless. Some called him dangerous. But Musashi no longer cared about what people said. Fame had a strange way of spreading, and it tempted many who wished for power. For Musashi, it was a double-edged sword. Recognition brought respect, yes, but it also brought distraction. People wanted his attention, his approval, his presence. They wanted to claim a piece of him, and Musashi wanted none of it. He had walked alone for years to find himself. Every duel, every long day on the road, every moment of hunger and silence had built him into something sharp and focused. Now, the world tried to pull him back. Masters asked him to join schools. Villagers begged him to teach. Warriors challenged him for his reputation. He refused every offer. Musashi understood that mastery was fragile. Skill could be measured in victory, but true mastery was in the mind. If his thoughts became entangled with praise, friendship, or comfort, the clarity he had worked for would be gone. And clarity, to him, was more valuable than life itself. Yet the cost of this clarity was heavy. At night, Musashi often sat alone under the stars. The world was silent, yet his mind was loud. He thought of other men with families, laughter in their homes, warmth in their hearts. He felt the sting of loneliness. He realized that isolation, while powerful, was also a burden. It cut him off from simple human joys. He watched others embrace life while he walked roads filled with shadows and stone. Still, he did not regret. He reflected on his victories. Each duel, each challenge, each moment of pain and struggle had taught him something no school could teach. He had learned timing, patience, observation, and strategy. He had learned to see beyond the movements of a sword, to see the intention behind it. He had learned to control his body, mind, and heart like a single instrument. And all this was born from solitude. One evening, Musashi stopped by a river. The water flowed fast, cold, and clear. He watched it and thought of his life. The river reminded him of the road, always moving, never resting, sometimes rough, sometimes calm. Life, like water, could not be forced. It could only be observed, understood, and followed with care. Musashi's eyes, dark and quiet, reflected the stars above. He thought of every opponent he had faced. Some were strong, some weak, some were proud, some humble. Each fight had been a mirror, reflecting not just skill, but inner truth. And every reflection had led him further from the world of comfort, from the path of belonging. Yet mastery demanded it. People who knew only the final moment, the duel, the victory, did not see the struggle that came before. The hunger, the cold nights, the hours of silent practice, the careful study of every movement and thought. The solitude was not punishment, it was preparation. But preparation left scars, emotional scars, loneliness, a life without companionship or recognition beyond skill. Musashi accepted these scars. He realized that being a master meant paying a price that few understood. Others wanted glory without struggle. Others wanted skill without solitude. Musashi had learned that there was no shortcut. There was only the long, lonely path. And so, he continued walking. He traveled from village to village, forest to forest. Some warriors challenged him, some sought advice. Musashi gave little. When he spoke, his words were few but sharp, filled with the wisdom of observation. When he moved, it was with quiet confidence, no flourish, no arrogance. He had learned that true power often appears simple. Even as he grew stronger, he felt the tension between isolation and the world. He saw people who loved him for what he was, yet he could not stay. He saw students who wanted to learn from him, yet he turned them away. The road demanded solitude, and he honored it. Musashi began writing his thoughts. He made notes on strategy, philosophy, and life. Not for fame, not for approval, for himself, for the clarity of mind. Writing became a companion when no one else was there. Words helped him understand what sword and body alone could not explain. Sometimes he reflected on those he had left behind, family, teachers, friends. Did they remember him? Did they worry? Perhaps. But he knew he could not return. The path of belonging was a chain, and he had chosen freedom. And yet, the loneliness grew quietly, almost like a shadow that never left. It reminded him that every choice carries cost, every path is sacrifice. Musashi did not fear it. He had embraced it. He had walked it willingly. In these quiet moments, he understood the truth of his life. Mastery requires solitude, courage, and the willingness to face the world alone. Only by walking the lonely road could he become the man he was meant to be. The quiet cost of mastery was not pain, nor fear, nor hunger. It was being separated from the ordinary comforts that most people take for granted. Musashi had chosen to pay that cost fully, and in doing so, he had discovered a power that belonged to no one but himself. He continued on the road, knowing that challenges awaited, that rivals would test him, and that fame would continue to shadow his steps. But Musashi had learned the hardest lesson of all. The mind must remain free, and freedom often walks alone. Miyamoto Musashi walked alone, as he had done for years. The road stretched ahead of him, winding through forests, mountains, and rivers. Behind him were victories, duels, and a name that traveled faster than he did. But he did not carry pride with him.